Are you ready, G-Love?
I am.
On the phone, iconic fashion designer to the legendary Hollywood stars and musical royalty. I don't even know what to say. We've been talking about her the whole show already. The one and only Sue Wong. How you doing, Sue?
Hi, how are you?
Hey.
Is it Kenny, right?
Yes, I'm Kenny, yes.
Kenny and
Yes,
G-Love. Don't forget about G-Love.
Tiva?
G-Love. Yeah. I need to be named after sugar. G-Love.
Like
I sort of have a bad connection. I'm calling you from my historical Hollywood residence, the Cedars, and it's probably the most glorious and most famous house in Hollywood history. If you want to know a little bit about it, we can start with the history of the Cedars, if you like.
Sure. Tell me about your mansion.
I checked it out today, so go ahead. I want to hear about it.
Oh, okay. Well, it's really an iconic, 1920s Hollywood grande dame. She actually was the grande dame of her day when she was built in the early to mid-20s. It took about 5 years to finish, and she's the vision of this incredible French artist by the name of Maurice Tournier, who came from Paris, in the teens to work in the movies. So he was a legendary director as well as a trained academic artist and also a screenwriter. So he worked for MGM Studios for, the Samuel Goldwyn and, Louis B. Mayer. And so perched on about 3 of my 6 fireplaces here are the emblematic MGM lions, as a matter of fact.
Could you imagine, Miss Wong, could you imagine if those walls could talk? I mean, really?
Oh, believe me, I have to tell you the host of legendary, legends and lore that really was here and all the illuminates who really lived here. So anyway, it's also called the Norma Talmadge Estate. Norma Talmadge was the preeminent movie star of the silent era. And she and her husband, Joe Schenck, lived here. And Joe Schenck was the founder of 20th Century Fox Studios. And they used to, entertain their best friends, which was Charlie Chaplin, who lived probably about a mile away in Laughlin Park. He lived in what was part of the Cecil B. DeMille estate. And then they would also have Sir Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford over. And so they used to entertain them here a lot. And then later on, they branched off and started United Artists Pictures together. Wow. So, it's also known as Norma Talmadge Estate because Norma Talmadge was I think the character was the inspiration, rather, for the character of Norma Desmond in the Billy Wilder classic called Sunset Boulevard. Mm-hmm. You guys remember watching that movie?
Yes.
Mr. DeMille, I'm ready for my close-up.
Uh-huh, yes.
So anyway, that was basically sort of an incarnation of Norma Talmadge herself. And so the character is loosely based on Norma Talmadge. And part of the movie was, in fact, filmed here, Sunset Boulevard. So then I think after they moved out, then it was Howard Hughes. This was home to Howard Hughes for a couple of years. And so, he used to love playing the grand piano in my solarium. And the guy who delivered the piano to him was none other than a struggling opera singer by the name of Mario Lanza, who became very famous eventually. Then after, Howard Hughes, I believe it was Errol Flynn who lived here. Then it was, the horror star, Bela Lugosi at the height of his, Count Dracula fame. So he lived here. And because he lived here, decades later, Johnny Depp had to live here.
Oh, boy.
Because he was making that movie. It was a Tim Burton movie called Ed Wood.
Yes.
And if you recall, part of it was really about Bela Lugosi.
Yep.
And it was a brilliant performance played by Martin Landau, who won the Best Supporting Actor that year. And, this is how it really kind of,
That's unbelievable.
It's like a small world, but I dressed his wife, for the Oscars that year when he won. And then I
awesome.
used to hang out with Marilyn Manson, of all people, who was really best friends to Johnny Depp.
That circle all comes around.
The circle just really goes
Right.
around. and
I just want to know when I can come over for a barbecue.
So anyway,
No, you just want to know when you can move in with Miss Wong. That's what it really comes down to.
Will you adopt me, please?
You know what? Have you considered actually writing a book on this particular property? I mean, have you thought about
with all that history?
all that history?
Have I done what?
Have you thought about?
I couldn't hear you.
Have you thought about possibly doing a book on the history of this house? Now that
I am going to do a coffee table book on the Cedars, but let me tell you the last part of it, and then I will tell you what's going to be in the last chapter of the book. So anyway, so then in the 60s, it became this iconic, rock palace. So, you had the likes of the Rolling Stones, Brian, why can't I think of his name? Brian Jones. Brian Jones of the Rolling Stones lived here with the Rolling Stones, and they had their first record release party back in 1963 at the Cedars. And then it spawned a whole rush of other, like rock stars. So, there was Lou Reed and the Velvet Underground. So they lived here. And then Andy Warhol used to really come and stay here when he would be visiting from New York because, Velvet Underground was basically his unofficial band, so to speak.
Right.
And then, Bob Dylan lived here. And then Jimi Hendrix lived here. He was brought in by his best friend, Arthur Lee, of the band called Love. So Jimi Hendrix lived here. Jim Morrison lived here. This was Janis Joplin's favorite place to party. Who else lived here? There was a whole host. John Phillips of the Mamas and the Papas lived here. Van Morrison lived here. Bob Dylan lived here. I mean, and then, they made the iconic movie. Do you guys remember ever having watched Easy Rider?
Oh, of course.
It was really... It was really sort of like the rebel, movie of its generation, So Peter Fonda and Dennis Hopper filmed Easy Rider here, and Dennis Hopper, stayed here as well. So there's all that sort of thing. So it's just really this incredible, palace. It's based on the 17th century palazzo of the Duke of Alba. So it was really in disrepair and in total ruins when I bought it, but I basically, spent like a couple of years restoring it and furnishing it with, actual throne chairs from Bavaria and, some really gorgeous French. So, it's a palace. It really is. It's a legendary palace. So I'm really, glad to really be her Chatelaine, so to speak, which is really, I'm keeper of the flame, keeper of the legend, basically.
What do you call? Do you call her by name? Or
yes, I call her by the Cedars.
The Cedars.
She's
very cool.
Been known as the Cedars because she sits on top of this hill, all by herself, and it used to be 15 acres. I mean, unfortunately, it's been carved up. A lot of the land. Now, but I have a 3-house compound here. I have the main house of the Cedars. I have the guest house of the Cedars. Then I own the the house next door, which I bought from my mom, and that used to be, basically the staff house. So I do have a 3-house compound here.
Oh, look, Kitty. Kenny has 3 choices now, Miss Wong.
No. I was just thinking, I just want to know when the barbecue is, and I'm coming over. Just give me an invite. I will be there.
Wow. Now, you
I usually have barbecues more at my house at the beach in Malibu.
Oh.
And I have really formal parties here with, very elegant dinner parties where everybody dresses to the nines and, try to really bring back a little essence of old Hollywood glamour, And by the way, that's really what my clothing is all about. So, I think when I found this house, she needed me as her mistress. And, I needed, something to love and care about. So I guess that people say that, House and Mistress are a perfect match.
Right.
So, I took the time to really renovate her and make her sparkle for a whole brand new generation. So I just really put a lot of love and care, time, not to mention money, millions of dollars, and really basically, restoring. I think I restored 7 different intricate ceilings here because, it's just unbelievable. There's, gilded gold columns everywhere. But
Wow.
I kept the patina of antiquity. So, she does look like this vintage, old Hollywood palazzo, basically.
No, it's beautiful. I've seen some pictures floating around. Now, I don't know if they're, the ones that have been redone, or I'm not sure, but it looks amazing. And I'm wondering with fashion now. I'm not really a big person into different designers and all of this, but after researching what you do, I see that you've been in Macy's, Neiman Marcus. You've been in a lot of higher end places, obviously.
Yeah, Bloomingdale's.
Actually, yes, I probably sold to every high end store in America. Neiman Marcus was my number one account. Saks Fifth Avenue, Bloomingdale's, Nordstrom's, Lord and Taylor. All of them, but basically I sold to every better retail across the whole country, as well as to 27 different countries throughout the world. Japan, Malaysia, the Philippines, all throughout the Middle East, the Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon. You name it, and parts of Europe, Greece and Spain and, Italy, etc. Not to mention South America, not to mention Canada, America, of course. So just everywhere.
Wow.
My question would be, with everything that's going on with this COVID and things like that, especially for the last 5 months and these retail stores, that must be pretty hard on a lot of clothing designers and just stores in general, I guess.
Well, it must be. I basically sort of semi-retired from fashion, and I gave up manufacturing about 3 years ago because I saw the handwriting on the wall, where retail was going, and it was not a pretty picture. And
Right.
now you have, Macy's closing 800 stores.
Right.
You have Nordstrom's closing 140 stores. Neiman's is in bankruptcy. Barney's went out of business. I don't know whether Bergdorf's is next, but
But you still must get people to ask you to do like dresses and things for runways and stuff like that.
But online outlets like Amazon, they basically have killed the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazon, Etsy, what are these big stores are. I even find myself to really be like ordering, buying, purchasing, very expensive designer clothing from online myself, just because, it's just so much easier to, order it online instead of having to drive to a location and, fight crowds and, cash registers and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's really, unfortunately, the situation of the present. So, you have, I don't know what's going to happen with all these malls across America. I guess they will have to really, convert them into, big condominium compounds or something,
Yeah.
because I think the mall is going to really be the way of the, a history of the, future, basically.
Right. Hey, we have an awesome designer here in Orlando, Florida. She does a lot for Universal Studios and Disney and all these others. And she's asking you, what would be your best advice for emerging designers in this day and age? Like, what would you say could help her get to that level?
It's probably, so difficult. I don't really envy, designers right now. When I found my niche in evening wear, basically 20 years ago, right before the millennium, it was really, like the right time. I got in at the right time. I found these, factories out of China that really, still did beautiful handwork, that were available from the finest houses in Europe only, the haute couture houses only. And then so I was really probably credited with being the designer who basically was the first to bring haute couture looks to the masses. Because if you really study, my gowns, they look like they should really sell for, thousands and thousands of dollars because of all the hand beading, the hand embroidery, the hand painting, hand crochet, all these beautiful elements, that I would really put in fine detail. But in fact, they've, sold for a mere few $100s, like, anywhere from $500 to $800. And so, I made myself available to the every woman. So
Right.
I kind of build myself as the every woman couturier, So that was really a niche. So I think for the designers out there, you have to really, understand your niche. You have to really figure out a niche in the market, a piece of the market that you want to own or be a part of. And then hard to really get there because you really have to know your audience these days. Most people, especially younger folks, are more occupied. They want it cheap, they want it fast, and they see fashion as a transitory trend. So, maybe the quality is not the best. You wear it a few times and you throw it away and you go to the next one. But the whole thing is to really be on point trend-wise and really be right on the money where, people don't really feel like spending hundreds of dollars on one item of clothing unless you happen to be someone like me who's really into, like certain avant-garde designers. But those, to me, are like investment pieces. And when I invest in an Issey Miyake or a Junya Watanabe piece, which are some of my favorite designers, I, wear them for the next, probably decade or so.
Wow. But
what I'm talking about are just people who really want something fun, something quick, something expedient, something cheap, So I think that's really the order of the day, in fashion. And
Wow.
Unfortunately, there's not a whole lot of, trends going on in fashion. I mean, there are trends, but just like every world we live in, everything is really quick and fast, So that's really the way it is, That's a part of, modern culture, unfortunately.
Well, Miss
I don't
Wong,
think people really want sex.
Miss Wong,
Yes.
I'm going to tell you, first of all, you're fascinating. I love the whole story about this house. I cannot wait for your book to come out because I will be in line to get that. Second of all, if you can dress a chunky chick, I would love to be a part of one of your Hollywood glam parties.
Right.
I don't have to come move in with you like Kenny wants to come.
I just want to come to a barbecue. That's it.
Okay, barbecue, and I want to go to a glam night.
The barbecue, you'd have to come to Malibu.
I don't have a problem doing that.
We'll come.
No, don't you threaten me with a good time. You kidding me?
Thank you.
Hey, listen.
I've had a very, very interesting life, I must say, and I have very few regrets. It's been a great life. I mean, do you want me to tell you and your, listeners a little bit about my life story?
Oh, I wish we could.
Yeah, but
my goodness.
They only give us 15 minutes. Yeah, we actually got to go.
But we love having you on.
You know what, Miss Wong, we'll have you back on again, and you can tell us all about it. And like I said, we'll...
Okay, no problem.
But
no problem. But you got to hear all about the Cedars today.
Oh, yes. I am so interested in that.
That's just like chapter 1 of the book.
I know. We were a part of it.
I know.
That's
Well,
awesome.
I mean, she's a part of old Hollywood glamour. So I think anybody who was anybody in Hollywood from the 1920s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s to now, I have a lot of, great friends in entertainment. And I have these really beautiful, elegant parties. And, everybody has really crossed through the portals of this house.
Wow.
It's a very magical home.
And you can dress a chunky chick, right?
Well, I think I have very few, large sizes left, sweetheart.
All right. Well, I need to lose weight then.
2s and 6s.
Oh,
2s and 6s.
I never have in my life.
Well, if you put that together, that's an 8, right? So... Listen, Miss Sue Wong, listen, we appreciate you calling us. You have a great weekend. And like I said, we'll stay in touch.
You.
And
Thank you so much.
When your book comes out, please let us know because we want to get a copy. And I'm not kidding you about your barbecue. And we want to thank Eileen as well from World Star PR. And I hope you have a great weekend.
Okay, well, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Take
Talk to you
care.
soon. That was
Bye-bye.
Sue Wong, everybody.